Be still, storm clouds pass and silence come, peace grace this time with harmony. Fly, bird of hope, and shine, light of love, and in calm let all find tranquility. Birds fly high, lift our gaze toward distant view, help us to sense life's mystery. Fly high and far and lead us each to see how we shine bright and true, so we may join our songs in new sounds that become full symphony.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Congregation at White Plains. I am Emily Economo. My pronouns are she, her. Yeah. I am one of, oh, that's better. I am one of your worship associates this morning. We gather in the light of four truths. It's a blessing you were born. It matters what you do. Your experience of the divine is true, and the important reminder, you don't have to go it alone. Those watching on Zoom, good morning. You can find an order of service on our website at CUUCWP.org. For those here in person, if you have not already done so, please silence your phones. If you are new and visiting us online this morning, please take a moment to click on the link in the chat and fill out the visitor form and let us know how you'd like to be connected. If you're new and visiting in person, we invite you to stop by our welcome table and say hello. Part of being in a community is sharing our lives with one another. All are invited to share a joy or a sorrow in our milestone books on the table up there. For those on Zoom, please follow any prompts in the chat.
Good morning. Oh, good morning. Good morning. Oh, there it is. I am the Reverend Danielle Lindstrom. My pronouns are she, hers. I am grateful and honored and delighted to be the minister here at CUUC. It is good to be together. Will you join me in just one really good deep breath? Our opening words from the Reverend Gretchen Haley. Today is a gift. Today is a gift. This moment right here is a gift, offering itself to us, ready for our response. It is not easy to receive a gift, as it turns out. We want to fuss and feign resistance and say, "Don't worry about me, I'm fine." Try to give something in return. "Oh, you shouldn't have." Try to earn our right for such an overwhelming thing to be thrust into our laps. Here, at least let me do the cleanup. At least let me do the cleanup. But no, this day is ours. You didn't earn it. I didn't earn it. We didn't make it. Yet here it is. This is how life is. And so we come together to say, wow, and thank you. And let's do more of what we can to have this life. For this hour, let us sing out in praise, granting ourselves silence, listening to the sound of our hearts beating, leaning into this gift of life, listening to where it's calling us next. My friends, we have gathered, and it is good. Let us pass this blessing on. Come, let us worship together.
I'm Kathy Williams. I use she, her pronouns. As we light our chalice, please join me in saying, and listening to the words of Mr. Fred Rogers. Listening is where love begins, listening to ourselves and then to our neighbors. Listening is one of the most important things we can do for one another. Whether the other be an adult or a child, our engagement in listening to who that person is can often be our greatest gift. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
My life flows on in endless song, above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon file, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Hello, good morning over here in the family area. I'm Tracy Brenneman, the congregation's religious educator, and my pronouns are she, her. And today we are thinking about listening to each other. Do you have someone who really listens to you? Yeah.
Some of my friends do.
Some of your friends do? Those are good friends. What were you going to say, Rika?
Some of my friends.
Some of your friends too? Your mom and dad? It's so important to have people who really listen to us, right? So our story is called The Rabbit Listened. And at the end of the story, I'm going to ask you, what did the rabbit do that was different from what other people did, okay? So listen for that. Our story is The Rabbit Listened by Corey Dorfield. And there are pictures up on the screen if you'd like to see the pictures. One day, Taylor decided to build something new, something special, something amazing. Taylor was so proud. But then, out of nowhere, things came crashing down. The chicken was the first to notice. What did chicken say? Cluck, 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 cluck. What a shame. I'm so sorry that this happened. Let's talk about it, cluck, cluck. But Taylor didn't feel like talking, so the chicken left. Next came the bear. Rawr! How horrible. I bet you feel so angry. Let's shout about it. Rawr! But Taylor didn't feel like shouting, so the bear left. The elephant knew just what to do. Trunk action! I can fix this. We just need to remember the way things exactly were. But Taylor didn't feel like remembering, so the elephant also left. One by one they came. The hyena, let's laugh about it. The ostrich, let's hide and pretend nothing happened. The kangaroo, what a mess. Let's just throw it all away. And the snake, shh, let's go knock down someone else's. But Taylor didn't feel like doing anything with anyone. So eventually they all left until Taylor was alone. In the quiet, Taylor didn't even notice the rabbit, but it moved closer and closer. Together, they sat in silence until Taylor said, "Please stay with me." The rabbit listened. But listened as Taylor talked. The rabbit listened as Taylor shouted. The rabbit listened as Taylor remembered and laughed. The rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to hide, to throw everything away, to ruin things for someone else. Through it all, the rabbit never left. And when the time was right, the rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to build again. "I can't wait," Taylor said. "This is going to be amazing." What did the rabbit do that was different from the others did? Yeah. Just saddled up to Taylor and listened, right? Why is that important? If you listen to someone, they'll listen to you back. Yeah. It feels so good when someone just listens to us, doesn't it? All right, we're going to be, yes, Alex, were you going to say something, or you're just...
It's just really nice to listen to other people because,
It's really nice to listen to other people because sometimes they tell you what to do and sometimes they just listen. Yes.
it's fun to listen because it makes you feel good.
It's fun to listen because it makes you feel good. Yeah. Today your friend's coming over and you're going to listen to her. That's beautiful. So we're going to be thinking about that this morning and all month, listening, okay? And now, our 8th to 9th graders are already in their Our Whole Lives class. All the other K through 12th graders, we're going to Fellowship Hall to assemble the backpacks. So many of you donated for backpacks, for lifting up Westchester. We're grateful to Kathleen for leading that. So this morning we're going to put it all together so that those backpacks and supplies can be delivered. So we're going to head Fellowship Hall.
And we will sing the children out, but you can remain seated. And our song is filled with loving kindness.
Every contribution in our offering is a testament to our collective dedication to creating a more equitable and compassionate world. This month, we share half of our non-pledge collection with Murray Grove Retreat and Renewal Center, the only Unitarian Universalist Conference Center in our metro area, and the site traditionally considered to be where Universalism in America began. Among the many camps, trainings, retreats, and workshops offered has been the program our coming-of-age classes have attended as part of their journey to create a statement of faith. Thank you for your kindness, your compassion, and your commitment to making CUUC and the world a better place. Your support truly makes a difference. Our offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Part of being in community is sharing our lives with one another. Every week we take time in our hour to share and listen to the joys, the sorrows, all that lives in between on the hearts of our beloveds gathered here. Will you join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation? Spirit of possibility, of emergence and transformation. Spirit of love, may we begin in gratitude. Gratitude for this day, which is ours. For our beloveds around us in person and online, all this energy connected with and through. We come together after another hard week. And we are here. And we are here reminding one another of what matters most, that we are each holy and sacred. We each matter. That we affirm the truth that our trans and LGBTQIA plus beloveds are holy and loved. That the goal of equity, diversity, and inclusion is to practice widening, broadening our table so that there is space for everyone, every voice, every story to be heard and shared and treated with that love and care and respect we each deserve. It's a practice in which we are ever growing. May we be charged with practicing empathy, of showing up, of listening carefully and deeply, doing what we can, when we can, always. We are held together by a larger love, and into this love we lift up our beloveds. We lift into this love the celebration of Black History Month. From our Westchester County, this celebration to reflect on the resiliency, achievements, and cultural impact of Black Americans. As we celebrate this month, let us also recognize the ongoing work toward equity, inclusion that must continue. We lift into this love. From April, please hold love for my friends, the Hunter family, who lost their son Danny in December. We lift the Hunter family and Danny in love. From Joan, kindly keep Barbara Youngman in your thoughts with positive healing after hand surgery. All are invited to sign a card for her back at the Joys and Sorrows table, a practice of sharing that love. We lift into this love from Jax. I am settling in well at a new job where I get to help people at a social work agency. I get to listen. We lift into this love from Brian. I am going through a tough time, having personal problems. I'm looking for work. We lift Brian into our love. From Joanne, a joy, wishing my youngest, John, a happy 32nd birthday. From Jessica, thoughts and love to Lily and her mom, Christine. We lift into this love a sorrow at how this government is so cruelly targeting queer and trans people. We will not be erased. We hold you in our love. We lift into this love all that is unspoken, that remains on our hearts, all that is unshared, all that we are experiencing. We lift into this love. In the spirit and celebration of Imbolc this weekend, the turning of the earth once more, may we share gratitude for the growing sunlight, for the seeds beginning to stir under our feet. May we celebrate with creativity. May we make art and music and write good stories and strong protest chants and cook good food. However we share our talents ourselves in this time of transformation, waiting for emergence. All lifted in love. held together by a hope that was made to survive even still. A hope made for this moment, for this love, for each of us. Will you join me in a moment of quiet to pray, to meditate, or to dream?
Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
When I learned that this month's theme is deep listening, my brain went straight to piano tuning. Of course, I tuned pianos for over 10 years, and deep listening is required. When you tune two strings together, aiming for the same pitch, you're seeking a pure sound when each string is on the same frequency. When you achieve it, and each string sounds exactly the same, the volume is amplified, and the tone, you have a richer tone that you didn't have before. Lisa talks about this with the choir. When we listen deeply to each other, singing the same note, if we're doing it well, we hear one voice, and the sound gets fuller and louder. And it's not just because there are more people singing. There's an actual term for it called constructive interference. Isn't that a beautiful image to think about? That when we're deeply listening, we can end up with a better tone, a larger sound. What's happening when the wavelengths are not the same and are crashing into each other? The technical term for that is noise. And it's a tuner's job to listen through the musical tones you're hearing and eliminate the noise. But with a piano, you don't have to worry about a dialogue with words that you don't agree with or you don't understand. So how do we break through the noise in a dialogue? This is a thought I've been struggling with. How do we zero in on what's really being said? What's the end goal? How do I identify the nuance with what might be sending a conflicting message, crashing sound waves? How do we deeply listen when there's so much noise coming at us at once? For me, I practice deep listening by first eliminating the noise. I practice yoga where you listen deeply to your breathing and your body. I walk the dog in the morning, listening only to nature. Sometimes that backfires because I have to listen to the voices in my head. But this practice of shutting out the noise is how I recharge my batteries, and then I'm ready to talk. In my job now, I talk with students at Fordham University on a regular basis. I try to sense through their tone, their body language, are they confused? Are they stressed? Are they irritated? I try to notice these things purposefully to see if I can eliminate the noise for both of us. We recently had to do a class on LinkedIn called Avoiding Customer Service Escalations. But for this reflection, I went back and I kind of looked at it, and there was a good nugget there. Listen with the intent to understand. Do not listen with the intent to reply or control. Recently, a student was standing in front of me where I was working, and he came out of nowhere, and I was bemused because there's a front counter where students get screened for the easier questions first, so I had no idea how he got there. But that part was kind of noise. I wasn't about to ask him, how did you get here? Then I listened for information. He was asking for financial assistance. He's a permanent resident in Spain. He's a citizen of Russia. When I asked why he was asking for assistance, his answer cut through any remaining noise. Due to sanctions between the U.S. and Russia, the family cannot directly send funds from Russia to the U.S. They have to send funds from Russia to Spain and then from Spain to the U.S. All of this adds a lot of extra fees to move the money. The exchange rates are not favorable. They also have a new sibling in the family that adds expenses. Now he was no longer just a guy standing in front of me. He was a person with a problem, and I understood how I could help him and address the situation. Aren't we all in our daily interactions trying to separate the noise from the misinformation, from the information that we need to move forward? By reflecting on this topic this week, I was able to bundle ideas where I can help keep focusing and listening because I already have some traction in a couple of places. I specifically work with international students, study abroad students, eligible non-citizens, which means permanent resident holders, naturalized citizens, and a small number of students who fall into the category of other. DACA students, students seeking asylum, temporary visa holders. I can keep working to listen, to read, to try to keep up, and hopefully act where I can act. I'm on a DEI team at Fordham where we try to help remove barriers with the financial aid process. We used to specifically try to look for students of color, low-income students, whatever. That got a little harder with the affirmative action decision that was made. Sometimes I felt our group wasn't doing enough, but now I'm not leaving that committee now. We met last week. We changed our name to Bridge the Gap Crew. I hope we can all try not to get swept up too much in the noise and keep looking for any gap that might be bridged through your productive conversation and your deep listening.
Love will guide us. Adam, that's my favorite. That's my favorite hymn. I have a story for us this morning. This is the Cricket Story from Doorways to the Soul, edited by Elisa Davy Permain. Once two friends were walking down the sidewalk of a busy city street during rush hour. There was all sorts of noise in the city. Car horns honking, feet shuffling, people talking. And amid all this noise, one of the friends turned to the other and says, "I hear a cricket." "No way," her friend responded. "How could you possibly hear a cricket with all this noise? You must be imagining it. Besides, I've never seen a cricket in the city." "No, really, I do hear a cricket. I'll show you." She stopped for a moment, then led her friend across the street to a big cement planter with a tree in it. Pushing back some leaves, she found the little brown cricket. "That's amazing," said her friend. "You must have superhuman hearing. What's your secret?" "No, my hearing is just the same as yours. There's no secret. Watch, I'll show you." She reached into her pocket and pulled out some loose change. And everyone turned to look. Where could it be coming from? Amid all the noise of the city, everyone within 30 feet turned to see the sound of where the money was coming from. "See," she said, "see? It's all a matter of what you're listening for." Thank you, Matthew. As Emily shared, there is a lot of noise. Anyone else caught up in the flurry of noise this week? Yeah, of course, right? I've been doom scrolling, which is my favorite word for this moment. If you haven't heard it, it's where you look at your phone or your computer and you just keep scrolling and reading the next horrifying thing, and then the next horrifying thing, and then the articles about how that horrifying thing could be more horrifying, right? We've done this, right? This noise, it is loud and distracting and terrible and terrifying, and that's the point, right? Disorient, distract, overwhelm, keep folks unsure of what to focus on, and they will get so overwhelmed they won't focus on anything at all. This isn't a new trick, but it's loud. How do we choose what to listen to, what to listen for? I'm curious if this exchange will sound familiar to anyone. Imagine two people in the kitchen, and they're arguing about something people definitely never argue about: loading the dishwasher. Enter person one. "Why am I the only one in this house who ever loads the dishwasher?" "Well, the dishes. Think you're a little too picky about how the dishwasher gets loaded." "Well, the dishes care about getting clean, and if they aren't stacked properly, they come out dirty." "Well, the dishes are sick of being told that they do everything wrong all the time." "Well, if the dishes would just listen once in a while." Do we still think it's about the dishes? Right? The conversation then escalates, and either the argument can continue about the wants, needs, expectations of the dishes, or we hear the story underneath. We take a breath. This isn't really about the dishes, is it? Then the question can become, how can we be honest with how we are feeling, what's happening, what we need? Can we hear that from one another? Too often it's the fight that leads to the conversation that actually needs to happen. That fight becomes that entry point, right? About the conversation on expectations, roles, needs, right? Wants and appreciation. Can we have the conversation without the fight first? It's a practice. That's our phrase for the month, with a theme of deep listening. It's a practice. Deep listening, it's a practice. Knowing what you are listening for, it's a practice. I was reading Loving Corrections by author and activist Adrienne Marie Brown. And in her book is another example of not hearing, not listening. And her story was so relatable, I thought she was talking about my house, right? It's a conversation with her and her two younger sisters, my house, me, two younger sisters, right? And they share that there isn't a guidebook on how to have healthy relationships with adult siblings. There's no guidebook on how to do that, or how to have healthy relationships with adult children, right? Parent and adult children. So they would all come together for these family trips, vacations, and they would end up in a big fight the second or third day of the trip, right? They share that their family has an anticipation value. They are excited and they are ready for that time together, and everyone has high expectations, and time is scarce. That time with our loved ones is so precious and beautiful and so scarce, right? So they have to make the most of it. So you add the pressure. We have to make the most of this time. And then a few days later, everyone blows up. There's some kind of fight about something. And then after that fight, they would come together and talk about what happened. Why? Why this fight? What were they feeling? What were they bringing into this family time with them? What heartbreaks and stresses and fears and concerns, right? The overwhelm they were feeling outside and didn't want to bring into this scarce family time, right? It was never really about the dishes. They said this would happen like clockwork, and it has certainly happened in my family this way. So they started wondering together, asking good questions, right? Why not start our time together with the processing, right? So they started a sister check-in. And at first it was very structured. They would take the first 30 minutes with one another to deeply check in, right? To share where they were in life, what was happening, the stressors that they had, right? What they were bringing into this sacred family time. And then they moved into the rest of their vacation together, right? So rather than waiting for that fight to open that space for the hard conversation, they said, we need to do this, so let's do it first. It's a practice, and it was very structured. They would sit down and set a timer for half an hour to say, this is our time to deeply check in with one another before anything else. And they did that enough that it became part of the relationship. They didn't have to set the timer. They started checking in first. It means being able to create and hold space for deep listening and deep sharing. That's also why we start so many of our committee meetings and board meetings and group meetings with a time for checking in with one another. Right? It is part of sharing our lives with one another, building relationships, getting to know what's happening, right? So much of that community connection happens in these small group spaces. It also gives us a chance to name what else might be going on in our lives and how that might impact how we show up for the meeting. I have this thing happening in my life. I am wildly frustrated. I can't pretend it's not going to come into our committee meeting. So I'm going to check in and tell you, I'm feeling very frustrated. I'm going to do my best in our meeting. If someone has the space, could you call me after? Maybe we can have a conversation, right? It gives us a chance to name what's happening rather than pretending it's not. One of my favorite check-in questions that we do during our groups, what is something you need to leave at the door to be fully present in our space? What is something that you need to leave at the door? Trust it will be there when you're ready, but for now, Can you leave it at the door to be fully here? Right? Or what is on your heart this morning? What is on your heart this evening whenever our meetings are, right? So my invitation for all of us is not to underestimate a good check-in, especially for those of us that are leading groups, committees, the board, right? Is it a waste of precious committee time to check in with one another? Is it a waste of precious work time? Or is it a meaningful opportunity to connect? It's a practice. It's a matter of what you're listening for. And deep listening takes curiosity, which a few weeks ago when we were doing our big values activity, remember we were all kind of sharing what our core values were? One of our children said curiosity as a core value, which was beautiful and shows like we're really doing something right with our children, to be holding curiosity as a core value. Last Sunday, 50 or so folks attended our congregational conversation with that curiosity, right? I don't know that any of us were truly certain what we hoped to achieve together, right? Or to learn or certainly accomplish. I don't think any of us were quite sure. Tracy and I hoped that it would be the start of creating a coordinated response to all the just noise. That rather than spiraling individually, we could create something together. And we started with questions. What elements of our covenant feel especially important? What is important to you? How do you know that what's important to you is being held, recognized, and honored by your community? What does it feel like to know your community is holding what's important to you? We asked the question from the book Organizing for Social Change, which many of our folks are working with. The question, how can each of us contend with the urgency of this time with effectiveness, sustainability, and strong connections? How can we contend with the urgency? The answers that we gathered: don't panic. Find your folks. Find your folks. Come to CUUC. That was not mine. Sit and listen. Sit and listen. Listen to experts. Build relationships with community partners. Stay informed but not overwhelmed. Trust the different teams in our communities will hold their peace so that you can hold yours. A reminder that small actions matter. Respect that we all have different comfort levels in this work. We all show up to this in different ways. We are not bored, someone said. We are not bored. And if you're feeling bored, do connect with Mary Cavallero, who has the social justice team. She'll get you connected. We're not bored. Drink water. Take care of your body. Drink water and have fun. We've got to have fun if we're going to make it through. Right? We cannot give what we do not have, and so we're going to have fun. We're going to enjoy being together, and that's okay. Right? And we're going to sing. We're going to sing because I don't think there can be change without music. It's always the music. We cannot. Yes. We will sing through the revolution, beloveds. Hearing in these answers that we need space to be together, we need space to organize thoughtfully and effectively, to be informed by the experts and take on a piece, trusting that we are each taking a piece to make the whole picture. But what do we hear under the answers to this question? What do we hear under the answers, right? The question, how can each of us contend with the urgency of this time with effectiveness, sustainability, and strong connections? We can contend with the urgency of this time with effectiveness, sustainability, and strong connections. We can do that. It's all a matter of what you are listening for. One question I have had folks come up and ask a lot, and it's one that I am still wrestling with, and so if you have articles and books, let's share them. Let's do this work together. This question, how do we build relationships or even have conversations with people who are on the other side, or people that have vastly different political views, understandings of this moment, or are hearing a completely different story? Right? That came up. It's one thing to do this within our CUUC community, and it's another thing to take this outside to work, to school, to the places we volunteer, right? How do we do this there? Benjamin Mathis runs the Free Listening Project, Urban Confessional, and he shares a story about being outside of the Republican National Convention in 2016, holding a sign that said "Free Listening." His practice, he writes, is to suspend judgment, ask open-ended questions, and listen to understand, not respond. He was outside the convention when a woman came up to him with a challenging socio-political opinion. You can imagine any number of opinions. So I invite you to practice, right? To think about one that would be challenging to you specifically to hear. He listens to her, and she's ready for him to fight. She's ready for that fight back and forth. Instead, he asks, "Will you tell me your story? I'd love to know how you came to this point of view." Following the advice of artist Agape, hear the biography, not the ideology. Hear the biography, not the ideology, the story underneath. He asks her, "Will you tell me your story?" She pushed back again at naming different sources, right? That she had gathered her ideology, these different sources, these different articles, these different things that she had read to prove her ideological stance. He asked her again, "Okay, but will you tell me your story? How did you come to this point of view?" She then went on to explain her personal experience, the pain and the grief that she had experienced in her life. After hearing her story, he understood how her lived experience shaped her ideology. And he writes, quote, "Sometimes there's nothing to disagree with. When we hear the story of someone's life, sometimes there's nothing to disagree with. I just needed to be there. I didn't need to be right, I just needed to be there." She wiped away a few tears, gave me a hug, and thanked me for listening, and went back to the free speech circus. He writes, "Maybe one day she'll hear my story, but today it was my turn to hear hers, and I hope she felt loved." If our goal is to build relationships with folks, if our hope is to build bridges, if we are in a space to do that work, one way to do it is to ask really good, open-ended questions. Will you tell me your story? I'd love to know how you came to this point of view. And we aren't all in that place. It isn't safe for all of us to do that work. It's not our work to do, this building bridges, but if it is yours to do, can we hear the biographies, not the ideologies, the humanity under what's being said, right? It's all a matter of what you're listening for. And I I don't think this doesn't get to the answer of how do we build bridges with people we deeply disagree with. I don't think it answers that question. At best, depending on the relationship with someone, it offers an opening to then share your biography, to then share your experience, and from that may there be mutual learning. It's a practice. And it's a practice we do here, right? We talked about this last week. Share your beliefs about God, death, evil. Share your theology. Those are important. But what we want to know is how you live your life. What's important to you? How do we grow in our capacity for love, compassion, and justice in our world? And we listen deeply to each other's answers. We listen deeply to the answers of our community as we find a way to move forward in love, in justice. There is a lot of noise. Don't panic. We told each other, don't panic. Or if you do feel panic, which is valid and fair, can you call someone to check in deeply? Can you connect with someone who loves you and can hold that space with you? Who can ask you really good questions and hear your answer? Or at least drink water. Drink water. Take a breath. There is a lot of noise. And there is a lot of love. There is a lot of possibility. Time is scarce. Today is a gift. This day is ours. You didn't earn it. I didn't earn it. We didn't make it. Yet here it is. This is how life is, and so we come together to say, wow, and thank you, and let's do what we can to have more of this. More of this. It's all a matter of what you are listening for. Amen, and blessed be.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our final hymn of the day, appropriately named, Do You Hear?
Do you hear, oh my friend, in the place where you stand, through the sky, through the land? Do you hear, do you hear, in the heights, on the plain, in the vale, on the main, in the sun, in the rain? Do you hear, do you hear? Through the roar, through the rush, through the throng, through the crush, do you hear in the hush of your soul, of your soul? Hear the cry, fear won't still. Hear the heart's call to will. Hear a sigh, startling trill in your soul, in your soul. From the place where you stand to the outermost strand, do you hear, oh my friend? Do you hear, do you hear? All the dreams, all the dares, all the sighs, all the prayers, they are yours, mine and theirs. Do you hear, do you hear?
Thank you. Please be seated.
Please join me in extinguishing our chalice with words from Barbara Hamilton Holloway. Go now in peace. Deeply regard each other. Truly listen to each other. Speak what each must speak. Be ready in every moment to disarm your own heart. Rejoice in this love you have begun. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Amy Swiss, and I've been a member here for almost 28 years. I was told by my son Shane that this short speech needed humor. So I'm putting on these silly headbands, which are meant to show that I am here today representing the earth, and I hope you all find this mildly humorous. You may recall a few months ago, the Environmental Practices Group sponsored the Climate Justice Revival. At the revival, 37 of us spent a lively and thought-provoking morning talking about ways the changing climate is affecting us all. We brainstormed ideas for transformative action and thought about what personal contributions we might each make to work towards a flourishing future. Several ideas we discussed related to food, and one big area of potential impact relates to plant-based eating. In this brief announcement, I'll keep the statistics short and sweet, but every plant-based meal you eat helps reduce your carbon footprint. According to the UN, meat and dairy provide just 18% of calories consumed, but use 83% of global farmland and are responsible for 60% of agriculture's greenhouse gas emissions. There's a simple step each of us can take to make a positive difference in our world. Simply choose to eat a little more plant-based food each week. Whether it's once a week or every day, each additional meal will have a positive effect on greenhouse gas emissions, as well as land, energy, and water usage. To that end, inspired by the Climate Justice Revival, we're hosting our first entirely plant-based potluck. Next week on February 9th, after service, we will gather in Fellowship Hall and feast on plant-based offerings. If you would like to attend, and we hope everyone does, please bring a vegetarian or vegan dish that day to share with the community. Please bring a dish large enough to serve several more people than the number in your party, so there'll be plenty to go around. And we ask that you label your dish very well with all ingredients in an effort to be safe and inclusive for those who have dietary allergies or restrictions. Gluten-free dishes are encouraged. We'll have index cards and labeling instructions available when you drop off your dish. Please join us as we gather in the warmth of community and enjoy a feast that will be healthy, delicious, and good for the environment. If you have any questions or if you want recipe ideas, I'll be at the table in the back during coffee hour. Please stop by and say hi. Thank you from me and the earth.
Thank you for being with us today. After worship, the In the Spirit of Truth listening circle will be in room 13 to offer a safe space to share our experiences with racism and other oppressions. All are welcome. You may also go online to join. Also today, Jane Dixon is offering rides to early voting for up to 4 people at 11:45 this morning in the lobby. That's for the special election going on in Westchester right now. So you can get a ride there today. We hope to see you here again next Saturday afternoon for our free screening of the documentary Join or Die, about how being part of a community such as CUUC can impact not just our personal health, but our strength of our democracy, and to help with removing people feeling isolated. Our weekly e-communitarian and our e-newsletters offer many details of activities here at CUUC. We hope you can take a moment to discover all the interesting offerings awaiting within our beloved community. It's been a gift to be together today. As we enjoy our parting music, please spend a few minutes talking with someone you don't know and enjoy coffee hour, other events, and our blessings of friendship.
Listening is where love begins. It's a practice. It matters what you are listening for. This day is ours. My friends, we have gathered. It is good. Now let us pass this blessing on. Our worship is over. Our service begins. Go now in peace and know that you are loved. Amen.